Hey guys, I'm here to talk about The Bride of Frankenstein. This movie is a movie that I've watched, numerous times since I was a little kid. This is a horror movie from 1935, and while this movie it's not really scary anymore, but it's very fascinating to watch. This movie is a sequel to the original Frankenstein. Frankenstein came out in 1931. It's directed by the same director, James Whale. He also directed The Invisible Man and The Old Dark House, which are two other great Universal horror movies. Boris Karloff returns as the monster. We have Colin Clive as the doctor. Um, this is considered to be one of the best sequels of all time. And I think this movie is better than the first Frankenstein because there is so much more to look at in this movie. But this is the definition of a sequel. It takes place immediately after the first movie. Like, it's not like typical sequels where it takes place like months or even years later. This takes place like directly like the same day. At the end of the first Frankenstein, the villagers burn the monster in a windmill. Well, the beginning of the movie opens up in this epilogue scene, and it's supposed to be Mary Shelley, and she's talking about Frankenstein, the story. Mary Shelley wrote the book, and then and then this epilogue cuts back into that windmill, and we see the windmill fall down, as it's burning. But then we find out that the monster survived the fire, and then meanwhile, we think that Henry Frankenstein, who created the monster, is dead. And the villagers end up bringing him back to his house, where we find out that he did not die. So, while all this is happening, there's a doctor. His name is Dr. Pretorius. He wants to work with Henry Frankenstein so they can create a bride for Frankenstein's monster. So, through ways of intimidation and scaring him, he convinces Henry to work with him to create a bride. And this movie also is one of the saddest scenes in this movie is when the monster, he's a total outcast, did not ask to be brought into this world. People hate him just because of the way he looks, and he goes to this cabin where there's a blind man. He's playing his violin, and this blind man is the only person that has ever showed him kindness. And when the monster goes into this guy's cabin, the blind man gives him food and stuff to drink, and then he tells him to lie down and get sleep, and the monster starts to cry. Like, it is so sad. This movie, oh god, it's gut-wrenching. But then Dr. Pretorius, the monster kind of becomes his ally in this movie, and Henry's afraid of his monster. He does not want anything to do with him. And the only reason he's creating this bride is because Dr. Pretorius has kidnapped Henry's fiancée that he was going to marry. So now they go to this old abandoned tower, and the creation scene in this movie, this movie has a great soundtrack, and it's a beautiful black and white movie with terrific camera angles and mood lighting. And then the bride is played by Elsa Lanchester, and Elsa Lanchester also plays Mary Shelley in the epilogue scene, so she plays two characters. The bride is actually the only Universal monster never to have killed anyone, and she's also the monster with the shortest screen time. She's only in the movie, as the bride, she's only in the movie for the last 10 minutes, I think. But it's a terrific movie. Highly recommend it. If you're fascinated with horror films, this movie will fascinate you to death. Cannot recommend it more. It features the amazing Boris Karloff as the monster, and the monster talks in this movie. He's not kind of as retarded as he was in the first movie. But then in the third sequel, The Son of Frankenstein, the monster does not talk, and I don't know why. but Dwight Fry is in this movie. He has a small part of a lab assistant, and Dwight Fry is probably famous for playing uh, Renfield in the original Dracula. But like the creation scene of this movie is really what really makes this movie amazing. The creation scene, the blind man scene, and then just again the whole part with the bride at the end of the movie. It's a fantastic movie. Cannot recommend it more. It is one of my favorite horror films. It's my favorite Frankenstein film. It's probably my favorite Universal horror film. And I want to buy the Universal horror films on Blu-ray. But I cannot recommend this more. You will definitely be fascinated at what these people could, what kind of movie these people could do in 1935. I mean, it's fantastic. I really cannot recommend this movie anymore. But check out The Bride of Frankenstein. It's great. I love it. And thanks for listening. Oh, and by the way, sorry. Now that I'm doing reviews this way, I find that I can actually get reviews done faster because you're just listening to me talk, and I don't have to worry about the webcam or anything like that. If there's a movie that you want me to review, or if there's like a request of anything that you want to be reviewed, whether it be a movie, a book, a game, I don't know, a CD album, or what else? I can't really even think of anything else. I'll review it if I've seen it, or I will get it on Netflix and I'll watch it. Or if it's like a TV show or a documentary. If you want to see a review on it, I will do it. I promise you, I will do it. So leave comments in my videos, and if you want to see something reviewed, I'll do it. Or you can inbox me. But yeah, guys, just leave requests if you want them, and thanks for listening.